The storm that no one sawed sky above the set turned gray long before the storm came. The clouds gathered like quiet anger, swelling heavy with something unsaid. People on set whispered about weather delays, checked their phones, rushed through lines, and laughed under covered tents. No one noticed the girl standing outside. Anna stood at the edge of the parking lot, away from the trailers, away from the cameras. Her dress clung to her arms from the sudden cold wind. Rain hadn't started yet, but it was close. Her hair blew across her face, sticking to her skin, and she didn't bother to fix it. She just stood there, as if the storm was the only thing. In the world that understood how she felt inside, no one had called her over. No assistant came to check on her. The makeup team was still inside. People passed by, some looked at her, but no one stopped. She wasn't crying, not out loud. But her eyes held something softer, like they had been carrying too much for too long. She had just come from a phone call. Short words, sharp silence. Her sister had said something that cut deep, something about how Anna had changed, how she had forgotten who she was. Anna didn't even argue. She just listened. When the call ended, it was like the voice in her life that mattered most had quietly stepped away from her, and now she stood alone. 5 minutes passed, maybe 10. Someone shouted something in the distance. A van door slammed shut, then came. The rain, not soft, not light. The first drops were cold and fat, landing with purpose, soaking into her shoulders, her hair, her arms. But Anna didn't move. She didn't run back. It was like the storm was welcome, like it washed off the noise, the judgment, the cameras, the roles, the words she didn't want to hear anymore. And still, no one came, except one man. The door to the building opened, with a soft creak behind her. Slow steps followed. No rush, no shout. Just the quiet sound of shoes on wet ground. And then, beside her, a black umbrella appeared. Not overhead, not shielding both of them, but tilted slightly. Only over her. Keanu Reeves said nothing. He stood beside her, one hand holding the umbrella, the other gently pressing something into her hand. A small paper napkin. A tiny thing. Almost silly in the heavy rain. But she held it tight. Not to wipe her face. Just to hold. She looked up at him slowly. "You'll get wet," she whispered. He didn't look at her. Didn't even smile. He just said in the softest voice, "Some storms are not meant to be faced alone." For a few seconds, the world faded. No cameras. No trailers. Just two people. A storm. And silence that wasn't empty anymore. Anna finally took a step closer. They stood side by side. The umbrella now slightly covering both of them, and they just watched the rain fall. No drama. No performance. Just kindness. But behind them, through a nearby window, a camera assistant saw it all. He didn't mean to. He just happened to glance over. He didn't know why, but something about that image on us soaked and silent. Keanu beside her hit him hard. He quietly pulled out his phone. He didn't take a picture, just watched. That moment, without knowing it, was about to ripple across everyone on set, far beyond it. Because sometimes the most powerful scene is the one no one planned, and this was just the beginning. Whispers in the hallway next morning. The sun returned, sharp and bright, like nothing had happened. The rain had washed the streets clean, and the set buzzed with new energy. People moved fast again. The cameras rolled, makeup chairs spun. But underneath all that noise, something had shifted. Anna arrived quietly, as always, hair tied back, sunglasses on, coffee in hand. She didn't expect anyone to say anything about the night before. Most people ignored real moments. But today felt strange. As she walked through the hallway toward her trailer, she heard them, soft voices, broken pieces of sentences. "Did you see them yesterday? I mean, who does that anymore? That man is different." It wasn't for cameras, right? Anna paused. She didn't turn. She didn't walk faster. Just listened for a moment. And for the first time in weeks, her chest didn't feel so tight. Someone had seen when she stepped inside her trailer, something was on her mirror. A sticky note, small and simple. No name on it. Just 5 words in handwriting she didn't recognize. You looked peaceful in the rain. She stared at it for a long time, not smiling, not frowning, just breathing. Because somehow, those words weren't about vanity. They weren't about how she looked. They were about how she felt. And someone had noticed later that day on set. Keanu was already seated under the lights. The scene was a quiet one. No action, no stunts, just two characters in a broken-down diner, talking like old friends. The director called action. But Ana's eyes didn't look at the set. They looked at him. Keanu gave her a nod, not rehearsed, not planned. A real one, the kind that says, "I see you, I remember." They ran the scene perfectly. But when the camera stopped, Keanu didn't move. He stayed seated, hands folded, eyes calm. Anna stood up and walked toward him, slow steps. "Thank you for yesterday," she said softly. He looked up for what? She shook her head gently. He didn't nod. "Be wise," he just said. "You didn't need saving, just company." She didn't know what to say back to that. No one had ever said it like that. Like her silence, her pain, her presence was enough. Not something broken to be fixed, but something real to be understood. They stood together for a moment. The crew around them began to pack up. Lights clicked off. Conversations returned. But in the middle of it, Keanu quietly reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a small, folded page, wrinkled like it had been carried too long. He handed it to her. Double quotes. "I found this years ago," he said. "Kept it in my wallet. Maybe it's time it helped someone else." Anna unfolded the paper. The handwriting was faded, written with care. It read, "You're not falling apart. You're falling into place." She read it twice, maybe 3 times, then folded it again and kept it close to her heart. "Where? Did you get this?" she asked. Keanu gave a soft smile. "It's from someone who stood in the rain just like you." The day ended, but the story did. Later that night, Anna opened her phone. No social media, no press, just the photo gallery. She scrolled through images, old ones. Behind the scenes, shots, award shows, smiling red carpets, but none of them felt real. Then she paused. Someone had taken a photo. Not of her face, not a posed one, just her back, standing in the rain, with Keanu beside her, holding the umbrella. Both of them looking at nothing, or maybe everything. It had no caption, no filter. She didn't even know who had sent it. But it appeared there, like it belonged. Anna didn't cry, but her fingers lingered on the screen like she was touching something sacred. The storm outside had passed, but something inside her had just begun. The crack in the spotlight next few days felt different on set, not louder, not quieter, just warmer. Something had shifted in the air. Like everyone had silently agreed to be a little more human. Anna noticed it in the little things. Makeup girl, who now asked if she'd eaten, the assistant who knocked before entering, extra who smiled at her when she passed by. No one spoke about the storm, or the umbrella, or the photo. But she could feel it in the way people looked. At her not with pity, but with understanding. Even the director. A man known for being sharp and busy paused when she walked by one morning. He didn't say much, just nodded once and said, "You okay?" Anna nodded back. "I am now." But the calm didn't last forever. On the 4th day after the storm, a reporter showed up unannounced. She wasn't there officially, just a friend of someone on set. No cameras, just curiosity. Her questions started light. Background on the film, talk about chemistry, questions about acting techniques. Then she turned to Anna. "You've been very quiet lately. Something personal going on?" The tone was casual, but the look in her eyes wasn't. It was the kind that wanted a headline, not a story. Anna paused. She glanced toward Keanu, who stood across the lot, laughing gently with a lighting technician. "I'm just learning to enjoy." The silence, Anna replied. The reporter blinked. "Silence," as she said, voice steady. "It says more than noise ever could." The reporter smiled politely and walked off. Later that afternoon, during a short break, Anna sat alone. Again, not because she felt lonely, but because the silence felt good. She sipped tea, her hands wrapped around the warm cup, staring out at the open sky. Keanu approached without a sound. He sat beside her, not speaking, just sharing the quiet. "You handled that well," he finally said. "The reporter?" She asked. He nodded. "I'm learning," she said, slowly. "You don't have to answer everything," he said softly. "Not everyone deserves your truth." She looked at him. "You've been through this before, haven't you?" He didn't nod, didn't explain, but the answer was in his eyes. Then something strange happened. A young girl, maybe 17, approached from the edge of the lot. She held a book in her arms and walked nervously, her hands shaking. Miss Anna," she asked. Anna turned. "Yes, I'm just an intern here. I help with props, but I wrote something. It's silly, maybe. But after what I saw with you and Mr. Keanu, I just felt like maybe someone would understand it now." Anna took the paper gently. "You wrote this?" The girl nodded. "It's about storms and how people survive them. I've been through a few, but no one ever seemed to notice. Until that day you stood in the rain." Anna smiled gently. "What's your name? Mila?" Anna held the paper close. "Thank you, Mila." The girl walked away quickly, face red. But smiling, Anna unfolded the short poem. "The storm came to break me, but it watered something small. And now, where pain once settled, a garden starts to call." Anna read it twice. Then again, Keanu leaned over. "She's got something there." Anna nodded, more than most. And just like that, a seed was planted. Not in the ground, but in the hearts of those watching later that night. Anna taped the poem to the inside of her trailer door, and when she looked in the mirror, she didn't just see an actress anymore. She saw someone who had stood in the rain and stayed. The letter she never meant to write. 3 more days passed. They filmed late into the night. The movie was beginning to take shape, but the long hours left everyone tired. People laughed less between takes. Voices got sharper. The lights felt hotter. But Anna moved through it all with a quiet strength she hadn't known she had before. The little poem Mila gave her stayed on the inside of her trailer door. Sometimes, before stepping onto the set, Anna would stop and touch the page with her fingertips, just to remind herself. She wasn't standing alone anymore, but still something inside her felt unfinished. Not broken, just waiting, like a door. Slightly open, holding back words she'd never said. One night after filming wrapped, the crew went out for drinks. Keanu was invited too, but he politely passed and walked toward the studio gate. Anna saw him leave but didn't call out. Instead, she returned to her trailer and sat in the quiet. And that's when she began to write. Not a script, not a line, not even a letter she meant to send, just truth. Dear whoever reads this, maybe it's just me writing to myself. Maybe no one will see it, but maybe someday someone will. Sometimes I feel like I'm pretending to be okay more than I'm actually okay. People see the smile, the dress, the role, but they don't hear what happens when the door closes. They don't see the fear I carry, fear that if I stop being good enough, I'll disappear. But someone walked into the rain for me, not to fix me, not to lecture me, just to stand there. And I remembered that sometimes, that's all. We need someone who doesn't run away from the storm. So if you're reading this and you're tired too, don't walk away from yourself. Stay. Just stay. The storm passes, and you'll still be here. Stronger, softer, more real. Anna stopped writing. She didn't cry. She just folded the page and tucked it into a book by her bedside. Then she turned off the lights. But what she didn't know was that the next morning, that letter would not stay hidden. The crew returned early, blurry-eyed and slow from the night before. Anna's trailer was one of the first they unlocked. The cleaner stepped inside, dusting and straightening, and knocked over the book by accident. The letter fell out, not knowing what it was. She set it aside on the counter next to Anna's tea mug. She didn't read it. Someone else did. Mila. She had come to bring Anna a fresh copy of her poem, printed on a card. When she stepped into the trailer to drop it off, her eyes landed on the folded page. The words were open just slightly. Name wasn't on it. No one's was. But she read the first 2 lines and couldn't stop. By the end, her hands trembled. Not because the words were dramatic, but because they were real. Anna walked in moments later. Mila stood frozen, the page still in her hands. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Anna stepped forward gently.
What?
It's okay. Did you really mean this? Mila asked, voice barely there. Anna nodded. Mila looked at her, tears in her eyes. You wrote the thing I never had. The courage to say out loud. Anna smiled, heart soft. Then maybe it wasn't just for me. Later that day, Mila asked Anna if she could share the letter with someone she knew, a friend who had been struggling deeply. Anna agreed. She didn't expect what came next. The letter began to spread quietly, not online, not viral, just person to person, assistant to crew member, camera operator to sister. Everyone who read it passed it on to someone they loved. Within a week, Anna started getting small notes from people on set, left on her chair, tucked in her bag. Simple words. Thank you for staying. I felt seen. I've been pretending to. One afternoon after a long scene, Keanu handed her a folded paper. She opened it. It said, You never had to be anyone else to matter. The rain never scared me. You didn't either. Anna looked up at him, eyes stinging, voice soft. Why are you like this? Keanu gave a small smile. Because someone once stood with me too. I just never forgot how much it meant. The storm had come and gone, but its memory had become a shelter. More than just a Cineath, final weeks of filming had begun. The schedule was packed, the pressure heavy, and the set often buzzing with quiet tension. People moved fast, spoke less, and tried to stay focused. But even through the busyness, there was something different now, something unspoken that had bloomed since the rain. Anna was no longer just the lead actress. She had become a kind of quiet anchor, not because she wanted to be, but because she had stayed real. Her silence, her honesty, her presence, they made people feel safer somehow. One morning, the assistant director approached her. His voice was soft, careful. We're changing the final scene, he said. The writers felt something was missing. They're rewriting it right now. Anna tilted her head. What's different? He glanced around, then leaned in slightly. They want to include a rain scene? Anna's breath caught. Not the kind with drama or running, he continued. Just a quiet moment. A character standing in a storm, and someone choosing to stand beside her. Not to rescue her, just to be there. She blinked slowly. Is that based on? He nodded once. People saw you that day, Anna, and they remembered it. Later, as the sun lowered behind the buildings, Anna walked toward the rehearsal area, her boots quiet on the pavement. Keanu was already there, reading over the new lines. When she reached him, she asked gently, You knew about the rewrite? Didn't look up from the page? I did. And he finally raised his eyes. I think it's the most honest scene we've written. The day of filming the scene arrived. It wasn't forced. There was no artificial rain. Nature helped. Again. Dark clouds rolled in just before sundown. The wind picked up, soft but steady. And then, as if the world remembered, the rain began to fall. Anna stood in place, her hair damp, her breath slow. The cameras rolled from a distance. No close-ups. Just the wide view, one woman standing in the storm. Then came Keanu. He didn't speak. He walked toward her with that same calm as he had weeks before. No umbrella this time. It's just his presence. The director didn't say cut. Didn't have to. The moment ended when the rain lightened and the clouds parted. Anna looked up. At the sky at Keanu. Double quotes, How did you know I needed you that day? She whispered off script. He replied with words that weren't on the page. I just knew no one should be left alone in a moment like that. They let the cameras keep rolling. The silence spoke louder than dialogue ever could. The scene became the soul of the film. When the first test screening happened, no one clapped when the credits rolled. They just sat in silence. Some wiped tears. some held hands. But everyone felt something. The producer turned to the director afterward. "Was that real?" he asked. "About the rain scene?" The director smiled. "It was the only part that wasn't acting." Anna went home that night and pulled out the letter again. The one she had written but never meant to send. She read it slowly. Then she opened a drawer and took out a fresh page. This time, she wrote something new. "Dear me, you stayed. You didn't break. You found beauty in the silence and strength in the rain. I'm proud of you." Before leaving the set for the last time, Anna walked the same path where she had once stood alone in the storm. This time, the sky was clear. Walked beside her again, quiet as always. She stopped suddenly and turned to him. "Why do you keep showing up?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. He looked at her with a soft gaze. "Because one act of kindness changes more than just a day. Sometimes, it changes everything." Anna didn't reply. She didn't need to, because he was right. The last day, and the first truth final day of filming, came quietly, like a page turning itself. There was no loud celebration, no big wrap party planned yet, just soft goodbyes, lingering glances, and half smiles that meant more than words. Anna arrived early, before the lights, before the crew. The studio lot was still waking up. Morning mist hung low, brushing her ankles as she walked to the set one last time. She paused by the place where it had all begun, the spot where she had once stood in the rain. Alone, she closed her eyes, and for a second, she felt it again, the cold wind, the weight in her chest, the silence no one understood, and then she remembered the umbrella, the quiet steps, his hand holding it steady above her, the napkin in her palm, the stillness between them. It was all still with her. Not as a wound, but as a moment that saved something inside her. The crew slowly filled in. Hugs were exchanged. The director thanked everyone. People packed up gear, took final photos, promised to stay in touch, though everyone knew how rare that really was. Anna's trailer was already half empty. A few books, her favorite scarf. Here at the poem Mila gave her still taped to the door. She sat for a moment before gathering the last items. As she reached for her bag, she found something unexpected tucked beneath it, a small, carefully folded piece of paper. Not hers. She opened it. "I saw the way you stood in that storm. I didn't come out because I thought you needed me. I came out because your strength called me forward. Kindness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just stands still. You for letting me stand with you?" There was no name on it, but she knew who it was from. Keanu. A few hours later, they all stood together for one last crew photo. Anna stood in the middle. People laughed, fixed their hair, made jokes about blinking at the wrong time, and just before the photographer counted to 3, Keanu stepped beside her, close but not too close. He didn't say anything. He just held up the umbrella. Everyone laughed, even Anna. But when the photo was taken, the final moment frozen in time, the smile on her face was real, not posed, not performed. It came from somewhere deeper. Weeks passed. The film was complete. Early reviews were strong. Critics called it surprisingly human, soft, and profound. A rare story that doesn't try too hard but stays with you. But for Anna, it wasn't about the reviews. Something had changed in her. She no longer avoided the silence. She didn't feel the need to prove anything every time she walked into a room. She could say no without guilt, and yes without fear. She even started journaling again, not to share. Not for public posts, just for herself. And then, something unexpected happened. Mila, the young intern, sent her a message. "I submitted your letter to a small mental health group I volunteer with. They turned it into a short video for teens. It's helping people. I hope that's okay." Anna stared at the message. She replied, "More than okay. Thank you for making it live beyond me." Months later, Anna and Keanu were invited to speak at a quiet, small film school event. Now, just 50 chairs in a sunlit room. Students asked all the usual questions. How do you prepare for a role? How do you handle fame? What's the hardest scene you've ever filmed? But then one soft-spoken girl raised her hand. Can you tell us about the rain? She asked. The scene that wasn't acting? Anna and Keanu exchanged a glance, and then, for the first time, publicly, Anna spoke. I was breaking that day, she said simply. Not dramatically, not loudly, just quietly. The way most people break. And he didn't come to fix me, just stood beside me. Keanu added, sometimes that's all someone needs. Not advice, not solutions. Just a little cover while the storm passes. The room was silent, and in that silence, something moved, because every person in that room had felt their own storm once, and now they knew they weren't the only one. Later that evening, Anna sat beside Keanu outside. The hall, the sky was open. Stars slowly appearing. Do you ever wonder, she asked, what would have happened if you didn't walk out that day? He looked at her gently. No, because you would have made it through anyway. I just didn't want you to do it alone. Nodded slowly. I think. I'm finally starting to believe I'm enough. Just as I am. Keanu gave the smallest smile. That's the only version of you the world ever needed. They sat together under the stars. No rain, no cameras, no scripts, just two people and one old umbrella, folded and resting beside them, no longer needed, but never forgotten.